You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. When the Bugs Bunny Iron Lady sings it, that makes it official. Welcome to the show, as always. We certainly appreciate you guys being here. We just did our numbers 4 years into the show, where we changed the format 4 years ago. We are up in audience numbers over 1,405%. Not 100%, folks. Not 200%. 1,405. And we're proud of it, damn it. And we're not going to quit talking about it because we're just proud of ourselves. We did something. Now I'm tired and need a nap, so I'll get to that after the show. We have an amazing multi-book author on the show, as always. In the meantime, though, you must require 5 people in your downline. The show's like an MLM, but not really. You must refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, youtube.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the TikTokity, all those crazy places we're at on the internet. He's a returning guest, the ones we love the most, the ones who return and return our calls after a while. So there you go. Mark Greaney's on the show with us today. He's returning to talk to us about his amazing series, the Gray Man series. If you're not a fan of it, well, get a life and order up his book so you can. And guess what? He's got a new book out, so you can jump right on the bandwagon. His new book is called The Chaos Agent, and it's out February 20th, 2024, here next week, coming up. And we're going to be talking to him about his amazing book and what he's been doing in the last year since we've talked to him. Mark Greaney has a degree in international relations and political science. It has research for the Gray Man novels, including Agent in Place, Gunmetal Gray, Back Blast, Dead Eye, Ballistic, On Target, and The Gray Man. He traveled to more than 15 countries and trained along military and law enforcement in the use of firearms, battlefield medicine, and close-range combative tactics. He's also the author of the New York Times bestsellers Tom Clancy Support and Defend, Tom Clancy Full Force and Effect, Tom Clancy Commander-in-Chief, and Tom Clancy True Faith and Allegiance. With Tom Clancy, he co-authored Locked In, Threat Vector, and Command Authority. Welcome to the show, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing good, Chris. Thanks for having me back.
Thanks for coming back. We really appreciate it. Congratulations on the new hot book coming out. Give us your .coms or any place on the internet you want people to find you.
Sure. My name, Mark Greaney, Greaney books.com is a good place for me. And I'm on all the social media sites, pretty active on them.
There you go. So, Mark, give us a 30,000 overview of the new book.
Well, this is the 13th Gray Man book, as you said. I hasten to add that everybody is, every single book is a standalone. You don't have to read them in any order.
Nice.
And this one has my hero. His name is, they call him the Gray Man, but his name is Court Gentry. He's a former CIA paramilitary officer. And the book opens with him trying to live a quiet life in Central America. He's being hunted down, so he's trying to lay low. But pretty quickly, he's targeted by this unseen enemy, and he, through a little cat and mouse work, realizes that it's the same enemy who is targeting and assassinating the leaders in the fields of robotics and artificial intelligence all around the world. So it's a big globe-trotting spy novel where he has to go and find out what's going on and stop a revolutionary new autonomous weapon from coming online that will completely change warfare.
This sounds like one of those things from Godfather 3. They're trying to, if I get out and they pull me back in, maybe.
Yeah, that's always the thing. He doesn't want to be doing this, but he kind of gets roped into things.
There you go. There you go. You're just trying to live your life and have a few margaritas on the beach, and damn it, they just will not leave you alone. But because you got to save the world.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about your main character, your protagonist. What is he like, and who is this Gray Man gentleman?
Well, Court Gentry, he started working for the CIA when he was 18 years old. He was in prison for some murders, but murders that were done for honorable reasons. the CIA had identified him as somebody with a particular set of skills. So they brought him into a 2-year long training program, and then put him out in the field as a singleton asset, a guy who works alone with little, with no net under him and little supervision above him. And after a few years, he was pulled into a special activities division paramilitary team.
Mhm.
And then one day everything went wrong and the CIA targeted him and he had no
Mm.
idea why. And he became a private contractor, basically a killer for hire, but he only took jobs that he felt were like morally, you know, right for him to do. And so 13 books in, we've gone back and forth with his relationship with the CIA. There is kind of a decent relationship with certain members of the CIA now, and that comes into play in this book.
There you go. It sounds like what I do on Fridays. No, I don't do murder for hire on Fridays, people. Don't tell the FBI yet. I'm sure they're probably watching anyway. So give us a little bit of background on you. Let's talk about you and how did you get into writing? What was some of your upbringing and influences that you had?
Yeah, the background on me is not as interesting as what I just told you about my character. It's going to be, but no, I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, where I still live. My dad was the head of the local NBC affiliate, so I just grew up around the news. I had a love for international relations and the news. So when I was in my early 20s or my late teens, I picked up my first thriller of my entire life, which was a Tom Clancy novel, Patriot Games. And I just fell in love with the genre. And when I was 22, I decided I wanted to try and write a book. And I finished that book when I was 37, and then immediately wrote something else and wrote something else and wrote something else, rejected by editors or by agents. And it was my fourth novel, was The Gray Man, which was the first novel that was published in 2009. And since then, Chaos Agent is my 24th novel.
There you go. Congratulations. Did you keep
Thank
all
you.
those rejection letters so you can write them every now and then and say, no.
Yeah, it's like I know some of the people now who rejected me, and it's one of those things. It's like I have other friends who are authors that are really that hold a grudge about stuff like that. There is a lot of reasons not to publish those earlier books.
Okay,
I think all those people made the right decision, frankly.
They just needed more time, but they could have like invested you so you could have developed more. But I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go. It's always fun to keep those rejection letters. I have different rejection letters for my businesses from applying to things, and so it's kind of fun to keep them. And you're just like, yeah, you were wrong.
Yeah.
But this is good motivation to push you to that next level.
Yeah.
So what's it like? You said your first big novel that you picked up that you fell in love with was a Tom Clancy novel. What's it like going from that to working with and writing with Tom Clancy?
Well, it was incredibly surreal for me. I didn't see it coming. I'd only had, I got published in 2009. And so the very beginning of 2011, like January of 2011, I get a call from my agent and he's like, "Are you sitting down?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, they're wondering if you'd be interested in working with Tom Clancy. And I remember thinking like, that was so far above my head. I was like, can I work with like the next guy up on the ladder, one rung above me and not all the way at the top of the ladder, because he was a legend. And my dad and I would give each other the Clancy books every year for Christmas. And, it was a big part of my life for, 20 years at that point. So more than 20 years. So, yeah, so they sent me to Baltimore. I got to meet him and we had a really nice relationship. And then next thing I knew, I was working with him. For the first book, I wasn't allowed to tell anybody. I had to do all this research. I had to go to the Pentagon and do all these things, but I couldn't tell anybody I was working on a Tom Clancy book because they didn't know if it was going to work out. It was very frustrating because I was like, boy, I know all these doors would open so much quicker if I could say I'm here writing the next Jack Ryan novel.
Oh yeah, you're just like, I'm some new writer, and I'm gonna write anything. You could have been meeting with the head of the CIA if you just said,
for sure.
Thing. Hanging out with the president and stuff and doing whatever, golfing or whatever. So you go through that. I mean, it must have been kind of scary and intimidating a little bit. You're working with your hero at this point.
Oh, it was completely intimidating. I mean, it was so intimidating when they first offered it to me. I remember thinking to myself, how do I get out of this? Without making people mad at me, which is just a horrible way to think. It's just like I look back on that and I want to kick myself. And it's like, how little ambition did you have that this was like offered up to you, and you're like, oh my God, I need to run for the hills. But I got over that pretty quickly. And then
There you go.
honestly, Tom died right after we finished the third book,
Oh,
and
wow.
the family asked me to continue the series. And at that point, if they'd asked anybody else, I would have been very upset because I felt like I was the right guy for the job. But at first, it was like, whoa, this is way too big for me.
Yeah. And so you took on the mantle, and what an honor to be asked by the
Yeah,
family
for sure.
to carry on his legacy. And there you go. And so you, for a while there, you were kind of switching between the Gray Man series, developing that and publishing those things, and some of the Tom Clancy books. Is that correct?
Yeah, I went back and forth and back and forth. I've done almost 2 books a year. I have a couple other series that I've started. The second book and one of them's coming out later this year. And so I've written, quite a few books. I was a ghostwriter too, so I wrote 2 books as a ghostwriter where my name's not even on the book. So, yeah, I've kept a pretty intense, steady pace. It took me 20 years to get published, so I guess I'm just trying to make up for lost time at this point.
Make up for lost time, prove all those people wrong, darn
Yeah.
it. So tell us, what's the basis? How did you come up with the inspiration to write this new variation or continuance in the series?
Well, when you're a thriller author and you write geopolitical stuff, there's only so many villains you can come up with. There's China and Russia and North Korea and Iran. And then do you recycle them or do you do something different? So I'm always looking for something different. And, I was very interested in people like Elon Musk and, these people at the forefront of artificial intelligence who have, their companies have more money than a lot of successful nations in the world. And I thought it would be interesting to think about to learn to do research on artificial intelligence in the civilian world, because it's all sort of fueled by ego and ambition and greed. And Michael Crichton had a line in Jurassic Park talking about genetics where he's like, everybody was was asking themselves whether they could do something. They never asked themselves whether they should do something. And so now, artificial intelligence tied with weapons and robotics, lethal autonomous weapons, it's a weapon that can, decide to engage, and, kill with no human interaction. That makes for an easy thriller. So I got that idea, and then I just did a ton of research last year as I wrote the book, and learned what I needed to tell a story.
There you go. We've had a lot of people on. We've talked about AI and whether AI should be tied to weapon systems, because we had a lengthy discussion about this a couple of times. But the issue is do you tie AI to a weapon system? Even with the button, pressing the button, or what the president has got to do with the suitcase, the football. To launch nuclear weapons, someone has to manually press a button.
As it is now, yeah.
Yeah, as it is now. But if you tie something to it that can press a button of its own free will and is its own species, like AI basically is, it's a whole new level of whether or not they should even be able to find a way to figure out how to map through a system of chips that are AI based and press a button. So
Yeah,
it's kind of interesting.
They're definitely working on it, and the United States has said that there will always be human and machine teams, and there will always be a human on the loop.
Yeah.
But that really doesn't matter what they say right now, because the moment China is fighting war at machine speed, and not having to worry about humans on the loop, then we're gonna be at a serious disadvantage, and very, very quickly. There's a thing called the neuromuscular delay, which is it takes humans an instant to decide on something, whereas these weapon systems can make thousands of calculations a second.
Yeah. And an AI system isn't going to be like, well, I'm going to lose my wife and kids if we launch this missile.
Yeah.
In fact, I might survive, as opposed to these silly little humans, whatever.
Exactly.
And yeah, it's an interesting thing. And even if we try to morally take the high road as Americans and be like, hey, we need to make some smart decisions. Evil countries, the axis of evil. I feel like George Bush W. They don't have any scruples.
Right.
I don't think some of these guys, some of these guys care about their power and their lives, but I don't think the value of the life of the people they oversee that they regard as of any value.
Yeah,
But
clearly,
well, we can
clearly
lose a
not.
few.
Yeah, yeah.
We see what Russia's doing in Ukraine, and they're just feeding a body machine over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if it's a race to do AI and do it right, and if they are attaching AI to their weapon systems, well,
Yeah.
hey, who knows? So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah,
So
ethics will go out the window at
yeah,
that point where we have to, fight for our survival.
yeah, and yeah, it's just gonna be crazy. So, do you want to tease out any sort of AI? Was there anything when you studied this and did your research? Was there anything that kind of surprised you about AI that you can talk about that you were kind of like, oh, this will make good data for the book? I know we can't ever talk about the middle and the end of the book, but
Yeah,
anything
I
you
mean,
can tease out?
yeah, it was all very, very fascinating and scary. Frankly, it was this book scared me. And let's look at the example of fighter pilots.
Mhm.
This is the best American Air Force fighter F-16 pilot went up in a simulator against the most advanced artificial intelligence that could fly planes and do air-to-air combat. And the human never got a shot off, lost 15-0. The
15-0.
Yeah, the simulated AI aircraft
Wow.
was taking things called front quarter shots, which is a head-on shot, which a human doesn't even try.
Yeah.
And they were so aggressive. The pilot, and this has happened more than once. The pilots say that it's complete 100% aggression all the time, and there's no time for the human to think or react. So
Holy
that's kind of
crap.
scary. And artificial intelligence models have also created novel toxins for chemical weapons, things that humans haven't discovered yet, and have come up with this synthesized stuff.
Mhm.
And they're large language models. They're not actually operational. They're not actually
Yeah.
making these things. But in the book, I talk about how these really sophisticated large language models, if you hook it up with an offshore bank account and you set it on a mission, it can socially engineer people. It can get people to do its bidding. It can pay people. It can threaten people. It can, have people kill people. And so, where this is going, I don't really know, but there's a lot to think about when you read the book.
Holy crap. That is scary. We've had some top Air Force pilots who fought in Iraq and have written books on the show. And, reading their books, there's a certain element of being in a dogfight and stuff and being in the military, in a military conflict, I suppose, of any nature, that there comes a point where self-preservation is going to be a timing effect, right?
Sure, sure.
Where you're talking about it's aggression all the time. Well, the AI is not sitting around going, I might not see my wife and kids.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
its whole substack, if you will, I guess, I don't know if that's the right word, is a paradigm on winning, and it not self-preservation in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't care
Yeah. Yeah.
at all. And so that's really interesting. 15 to
Yeah,
0.
they're completely remorseless, and
Yeah.
they're people think, is the artificial intelligence going to be like a human? Well,
Mhm.
the human brain is still the most powerful processor on Earth, but
Yeah.
artificial intelligence, built the right way, it's able to train itself. So it's able
Mhm.
to train itself on things that we don't even think to teach it.
Yeah.
So this is something that even the people in charge of the different AI companies have said that they're a little bit afraid of what they have behind. The gatekeepers are afraid of what's behind the gate, is a way
Yeah.
to put it.
Total Terminator aggression.
Yeah.
Even in some of the books, they have to talk about making decisions of whether to bail out or not.
Hmm.
You're watching gas. I'm flying a $2 billion machine. If I'm sloppy and wreck this in the ground, I'm probably going to bill for it. I don't know.
Yeah.
You think about so many different things, and the timing effect. Even though like a lot of these guys that are Air Force dudes, they have to think they have to process a lot of data in milliseconds and make
Yeah.
decisions in milliseconds that are life and death for them and maybe troops they're defending on the ground. And that just boggles the mind to think about.
Yeah, they call it task saturation, where you just have so much to do,
Yeah,
and artificial intelligence doesn't have to worry about it. Another thing it doesn't have to worry about are G forces,
yeah, that's true.
the way that a human being does. I've been in a
Holy
fighter
shit.
plane, and I've done 6.5 Gs, and which isn't even a ton of Gs, but it was plenty for me. It was a
Yeah.
lot more. It's a lot more than I'd ever had before.
Oh yeah.
And they can go right up to the limits of the aircraft itself, and there's not this bag of blood and bones inside the plane that it
Wow.
has to keep alive.
That is crazy. I didn't think about that too, because there's a whole process they have to go with their breathing and different
Hmm.
techniques they use not to pass out and
Yeah.
to move their blood flow around. And yeah, I mean that AI can calculate down to, I don't know, the ultra limits of the mathematical microsecond of micro G-force and turn that plane around and
Yeah.
be right up your butt with bullets.
Yeah.
There you go. Was there any challenges you ran into writing this book?
I didn't want to make it too techy. It's like real important that people understand this is not science fiction. Everything that I put in the book was either existing or emerging technology. I
There
might
you go.
have utilized it in ways that it isn't being used in the world, but
Mhm.
you can go on Google any of the robots that you see in the book, and there's a lot of it's a book about human beings, but there are the novel thing is there are these killer robots. Every single thing that is in the book you can find some version of online, for, videos of robot dogs with 6.5 Creedmoor rifles on their backs, or big hexacopter drones that drop robot dogs with rifles on their backs, off
Mhm.
as a payload, and very, very, very agile, bipedal robots that look remarkably and act remarkably like humans. And it's all existing or newly emerging technology.
That is crazy, man.
Yeah.
And so you're going to get the latest technology, folks. Pick up the book and find out. Hopefully, we survive. And I imagine our protagonist, our gray man character, is going to be the guy who saves the world with humanity. Damn it, not AI, or maybe
He's
using
gonna
human.
try. He's gonna try.
There you go. You got to read the book to find out if he makes it or not. Find out if he survives as a species. There you go. How do you see the gray man evolving over time with each book? How to keep the stories fresh and engaging?
That's the toughest part at this stage of the game, is to not go back over ground that you've already covered.
Hmm.
And the psychology of the character is really interesting for me, because I've created this guy who's an assassin, but he has a moral compass.
Hmm.
He's very, very paranoid for lots and lots of good reasons, but he's in love with somebody, so he's had to
Uh,
let his guard down. So there's all these sort of like dichotomies that have just come along in the series, and I try to um, sort of explore all of them. So the psychology of the character is probably the most interesting thing for me. I want to
mhm.
make his actions true to the person that I built up all over all these years. So that makes it a lot of fun. But as far as how do you come up with something fresh, I have to go out and get new information, because I've used up all of my cool ideas long ago. Now it's all about finding the next new thing. So that's why I fly in planes, or scuba dive, or travel to West Africa like I did a couple months ago.
Oh,
That
there you go.
you just go out there and do what you need to do to get new information in your brain, so you're not writing the same book every year.
Yeah, it sounds like you're staying up on the technology basis that the military is also pursuing. It's interesting to me to watch. I was watching a video just earlier on TikTok of, how basically Ukraine is. I don't know if we can say they're winning the war at this point, but they're basically one of the things they've used is these little drones.
Mhm.
And you see these drones just dropping a hand grenade basically
Yeah,
into a tank,
yeah,
and the way the Russian tanks are made with the uh, military armor or the ammunition being at the bottom of the tank and giving that what do they call it, the pop thing effect,
hmm,
um, is just extraordinary to watch. And they just
yeah.
they just fly up to these Russians that are in a foxhole or whatever, digging or hiding into the ground, and they just drop a grenade in there, and you're
Yeah,
just like,
the Russians have surrendered to drones before, and the drones lead them back to Ukrainian lines. So the drones they're about $400. Most of them
yeah,
come out of China, I think,
yeah,
and it's in the military they call it attritable. In other words, you can bear to lose a bunch of them, and a
yeah,
lot of them get shot down. A lot of them are not successful, and a lot of them go out and never come back. But they're cheap enough, and they're
yeah, it doesn't,
plentiful enough that it's okay. You
yeah,
can send 2,000 out and do a lot of damage, and if 500 come back, you'll send 2,000 out tomorrow. And you can't do that with fighter planes or human beings.
yeah,
Hopefully, the
yeah.
Russians do, but the rest of us don't.
Yeah. I mean, you look at how These are multi-million-dollar tanks by
Absolutely.
Russia.
Yeah.
They're not easily replaceable, and
Yeah.
you just see how how that's got to change the face of war
Yeah.
in the future and stuff. I know there's a drone on the cover of the new book. That's why I brought it up. Is there
Yeah.
any application of that or anything you
Oh
tease
yeah.
out?
There's a lot. There's reconnaissance drones, and
Mhm.
then there's um, operational, military drones in there, and they're all based on
Mhm.
real things out there. The interesting thing about drones is um, a, a, it is possible to hack them or to jam their signal.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of advances in putting all the artificial intelligence on the drone. So you can't, there's no signal to it if it's going out and it's looking for a target on its own with no human input, and it's discriminating against targets, and then it's identifying a target, and then it's killing the target. That can all be done on board in the brain of these little drones, and
Yeah.
that's where things are going.
It's crazy. In fact, I guess Ukraine was one of the first to develop them, ironically. These drone jammer guns,
Hmm.
I'm sure you've seen them, but
Yeah.
they're these giant looking things, and
Yeah.
evidently they can, someone's coming at you with a drone. But yeah, it's changing the face of warfare and how it goes. Is there any favorite scene or chapter in Chaos Agent without giving too much away you can tease out maybe?
Yeah, it's hard to go too deep in this without giving too much away, but
Yeah.
it's the scene where the hero and his girlfriend Zoya realize what they're up against.
Oh.
They don't know that they're up against robots, and they're up against artificial intelligence.
Mhm.
Sort of that scene, and it takes place in Mexico on the coast in Quintana Roo and Tulum, and they're at a house, and there's this moment where they're battling humans, and then suddenly something else moves into their
Oh.
into their viewpoint, and so that was an interesting thing to write. And then they immediately have to sort of retool their fighting style to figure out how to remain invisible and battle this thing, which they realize is tougher than any human they're coming up against.
There you go. You'll have to order the book, folks, to find out what happens next. Anything new on the horizon? Are you working on the 14th book in the series, or what's up for you
I
next?
will work on the 14th book this year, and it'll be out this time next year. But now I'm doing some final edits on a book that's coming out June 25th. It's the
Mhm.
second novel in my Josh Duffy series. The first
Oh,
one was
there we
called
go.
Armored, and it came out a couple years ago. So this one's called Sentinel. Comes out in June, and it's being developed for TV. Hopefully, something will come out of that. And yeah, that's my next book. And then as soon as I'm done promoting this book and finishing my edits on that one, I'll go
Mhm.
into Gray Man 14.
There you go. People can pre-order Sentinel June 24th or 25th,
25th, I think.
2024.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got my 24s and 5ths mixed up there. Dyslexic probably, I don't know. But yeah, that you can pre-order both books since the other one's 10 days out.
Yeah.
So there you go. Well, Mark, please come back for that one. We'd love to have you back. Oh,
I'll
please
do
come
that.
back for all of them. You're always welcome.
Yeah.
And give us your .coms and final plugs wherever you want people to find you on the interwebs.
Yeah, it's markgraneybooks.com or author Mark Greaney on Facebook, or I think it's Mark Greaney Books on Instagram, and it's Mark Greaney Book without the S on Twitter. I think that's all of them.
There you go. Well, thanks for coming on, Mark. We really appreciate it.
Great to see you again, Chris.
There you go. Great to see you again as well. Order up the book, folks, wherever fine books are sold. Out February 20th, a week from now, 2024. The Chaos Agent, book 13 of 13 in the Gray Man series. Just go on there and order them all. Put them all on your credit card and give them away to friends, neighbors, relatives. And you can share in the reading and all that good stuff. Thanks to my audience for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Foss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Foss, Chris Foss one on the TikTokity, and all those crazy places on the internet. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe, and we'll see you guys next time.